Thanks, John. Good morning. Well, beautiful morning this morning. Very still at the moment. The wind's very light offshore. Conditions glassy at all of our city beaches, although it is overcast and there is the threat of a change on the way. At the moment, waves around 1.2 to 1.5 metres on a straight easterly swell at all of our open beaches, a little bit smaller in the more protected beaches like Stockton, Nobbies and Blacksmiths, and the wind very light northwest. Conditions for the board riders a little bit full at the moment and the tide's still coming in, not high tide till later on this morning, so the best conditions will be found later on towards lunchtime this morning before that change comes through. For the swimmers today, take care. Still bad rips at most of our city beaches, low conditions a lot better than they have been for the last couple of days. As long as you're swimming between the flags, everything will be okay. As far as the forecast is concerned, we're expecting a cool day, mostly sunny at first, but cloud developing during the day with a few showers, chiefly in the lower Hunter. Northwest to southwesterly winds at 20 to 30 kilometres per hour, tending southwest to southerly at 30 to 50 kilometres per hour near the coast towards the afternoon. Seas rising moderate to rough on a moderate swell. Newcastle heading for a top today of 20 degrees, Scone expecting 23. High tide coming up at 9:45 this morning, 1.6 metres. Low tide at 3:41 this afternoon at 0.4 of a metre. And the outlook for Saturday, cool conditions with showers. Well, that's our look at the surf and weather this morning. Waves for the board riders, conditions a little bit full, but glassy with offshore winds up to 1.5 metres. Not a bad day for the swimmers either. Weather-wise, a change on the way and a little bit more rain headed our way as well. Have a great day whatever you're doing. We'll be back again on Monday morning. Thanks, Mike. Well, we're at Nobbies for the Cooter Lions Egan Surf Classic. The event was moved from Dixon Park this morning because of the prevailing conditions. Strong southerly winds. The event has to be held here at Nobbies because it's the only beach with no protection from those winds. The wave quality's been reasonable, but the waves amount 1.2, occasionally 1.5 metres during the day. Conditions did get a little bit full during high tide earlier this morning, but as the tide's run out this afternoon, those waves have been quite good. We've had no really surprise feats or surprise guys coming through at this stage. Just looking through some of the heats from this morning. First heat, we had Simon Law from Stockton winning, only one of the youngsters, but looking very good at this stage. Heat 2, Glenn Whitten. Glenn Whitten was the APSA Pro-Am winner of last year. Glenn's looking quite strong at the moment as well. The third heat, Brian Abel from Macquarie. The fourth heat, Tim Murray from Merriweather. The fifth heat, Michael Brits from Dixon Park. He's been making a big impression on the APSA circuit over the last 12 months. In the sixth heat, young Mickey Wood, just back from Hawaii. Seventh heat, Bill McIntosh from Bar Beach. The eighth heat, Chris Dalton from Newcastle. The ninth heat, Terry McKenna from Merriweather. And the 10th heat, Adam Carroll, also one of the youngsters from Merriweather. It's obvious at this stage that the young surfers are really making a big impact on this contest, and the second round will be starting this afternoon. We'll be looking at some more results a little bit later on, but for now it's back to you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. We're watching Heat 3 of Round 2 now. We're down to 60 surfers, and out of these 6 surfers, the first 3, that's first, second and third in each heat, will go forward and they'll live again tomorrow. Results of the last 3 heats in Round 1. First in Heat 18 was Steve Hart from Coffs Harbour. First in Heat 19 was Mick Shields from Merriweather. And first in Heat 20, Mick's brother, Phil Shields, also from Merriweather. And into Round 2 in the first heat, Robbie Lyons came in first in the first heat. Second heat, Steve Hart from Coffs Harbour's won that one. He'll be going through to tomorrow. And the heat in the water at the moment, anybody's guess, but it's going to be between Michael Brits and Mick Adam and Ross Clark-Jones. They're the 3 best surfers in the water. And the talk on the beach is that Glenn Whitten is the big one to look out for tomorrow. Glenn Whitten's hot on the trail of his 3rd APSA Pro-Am victory, and this could be the one. Now, due to the fact that the swell's been dropping during the day, and that tomorrow waves at Nobbies are quite likely to be very small, under 1 metre, it looks at this stage like the event may be moved back to Merriweather for the rest of the contest. Waves tomorrow should be around the 1.2 to 1.5 metre mark here at Merriweather. The winds are expected to abate a little. They should be more onshore from the southeast during tomorrow, but the wave quality should be about the best at Merriweather, and that looks like being the venue for the whole day. That's all for now. Back to you, Mike.
After beating New South Wales 14-2 and Queensland 16-0, Victoria emerged as the winner of Australia's first Junior Badminton Championships. The competition was the idea of Newcastle's June Bevan, who holds several Australian badminton titles and has represented the country overseas. The trophy won by Victoria this weekend bears her name. 30 under-16s took part in the championships, 5 boys and 5 girls from each of the 3 states. Organisers hope to expand the competition next year to include teams from Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania and the ACT as well.
Struggled his way from the gap.
Oh, very bad pass.
Another one.
Here's a dunk.
Oh yes, Ronnie Cavanagh. Went high and went bang. Owen Wells gave it away now to Brad Dalton. Now to Gordon McLeod. Owen Wells and points. Oh yes, that'll narrow it a bit, but they need to do a lot of it in a hurry to get that confidence and the momentum. The run-gun style we know the Falcons can play must come into being right now. Owen Wells just pushes the lead back to 15. McLeod tries to get round Davies, does do. Goes right to the line. Got it back to Owen Wells. Look at this. He's got the big hand round it. Oh. Why, Jingo, he just played it his own way then.
He does everything well.
Owen Wells once more said, all get up there. Quick, turns, pirouette, stops, quick, strong pass. McLeod got points. One gets the impression they're only going at about 90%, the Supersonics, just comfortably holding this lead now.
I think they're controlling the tempo of the game and they're doing it easily at this stage.
The Mackay was about 2 kilometres to sea off Merewether Beach when it caught fire at 8:30 this morning. Smoke filled the vessel so quickly the crew had no time to send out a mayday call. However, a nearby fishing vessel immediately took the crew from the burning vessel. In minutes, the 13-metre steel-hulled Mackay was blazing from stem to stern. An RAAF Air Sea Rescue launch based in Newcastle got a line on board and took the Mackay in tow towards Stockton Bight as firefighting services attempted to smother the flames with a foam pump put on board the Newcastle pilot vessel. 3 police were on board the Mackay. 2 of them, Constables Williams and Richardson, describe what happened.
Well, we were just cruising at about 2,000 revs and we lost revs on one motor, so we shut that down. When we got in the engine room to have a look, just full of smoke, there was no flames at that stage. So we climbed out on the deck because the cabin filled up with smoke. And then the 2 young blokes on the fishing boat, they came over and took us off.
The officer in charge of Newcastle Water Police, Sergeant Bill Harley, who had been on board the Mackay, stayed at sea to direct firefighting from an Air Force rubber ducky. The Mackay is a total write-off. The still smouldering hulk has now been towed to Horseshoe Beach inside Newcastle Harbour.
The Newcastle City Hall Conference Centre is the main venue throughout the 5-day conference. However, the official opening ceremony was held in the neighbouring Civic Theatre. The honour of opening the conference was bestowed on Sir Bede Callaghan, Chancellor of the University and Chairman of the Foreign Investment Review Board. Sir Bede's address was wide-ranging, from overseas investment rules to the decline in per capita income and university funding. But he also had some pertinent words to say on the philosophy of entitlement.
Magnificent introduction, I can say. This is a phrase I have to say, designed to emphasise that there are, at all levels of society, those who have come to feel entitled to an increase in their real income each year, regardless of whether they have personally contributed their own measurable contributions to the nation, whether they've increased their own measurable contributions to the nation. The term philosophy of entitlement appeals to me as applicable to many within the Australian community. Not only is a large part of many an employee's income now a matter of legal entitlement rather than a reward for productive effort, but there is a widespread attitude that the world owes me a living, and a darn good one at that.
The Institution of Engineers took the opportunity to launch a new book entitled Shaping the Hunter. It chronicles the history of engineering in the region. Copies were presented to Sir V. Callaghan and the Lord Mayor Alderman Joy Cummings, who earlier had welcomed the engineering delegates to the city.
Law Week in New South Wales will deal with such things as your rights concerning random breath testing, how to recover debts or make a third-party claim. The legal profession believes many people are not aware of their legal rights, and in a bid to correct the situation, lectures are being conducted this week in a number of places, including schools.
To make them aware of those rights, we will be having solicitors throughout Newcastle address schools, address community groups and service clubs, pensioner groups and the like. There are people within the senior schools in particular that have legal rights the same as everyone else, are aged over 18 years, drive cars, rent flats, and they need to know what the rights are that they have.
This is a very unusual step for the society.
We've addressed schools over the years and found a lot of interest. They are always interested in going to courts, seeing the legal process at work, and the interest is there.
The Newcastle Law Society is also running a free advisory service this week on 21833.
Good morning. Well, low pressure system in the Tasman's now moving away to the southeast. High pressure moving over New South Wales. That means generally dry, settled weather returning to the state. A little bit warmer than it is at the moment. And for the surface it means abating swell. We have waves this morning around 1.2 to 1.5 metres generally at most of the open beaches. Some of the sets coming through just a little bigger, around 1.8 metres. The wind at the moment is blowing from the south and conditions generally are choppy, bumpy and messy. The tide's also a little bit low at the moment and most of the waves closing out at most of our city beaches. If you're keen on waves, I'm afraid it's southern protected corners once again, Stockton, Nobbies and Blacksmiths, and it wouldn't be a bad day if you've got a little bit of time to do some travelling either. You'll find some waves north and south of Newcastle if you're prepared to have a look. If you'd like to go for a swim today, take care. Sweeps to the north, bad rips at all of our city beaches. Included in the forecast for today, we have a strong wind warning current for waters south of Newcastle. We're expecting a cool day with lengthy sunny periods, but the chance of an early shower near the coast. Southerly winds at 40 to 60 kilometres per hour on the coast, but easing during the day, and southerly winds at 30 to 40 kilometres per hour northwards. Moderate to rough seas on an abating moderate swell. Low tide coming up at 7:13 this morning at 0.5 of a metre. High tide 1:22 this afternoon, 1.2 metres, and the sun to set at 5:27. The outlook for Wednesday, dry conditions with southeast to northeasterly winds. Well, that's the story today, I'm afraid. Waves around 1.5, occasionally 1.8 metres for the board riders. Southerly winds, choppy conditions, protected southern corners if you're keen on waves. Not a good day for the swimmers. And weather-wise, a dry day with strong southerly winds. Have a great one. We'll be back in the morning.
The board surveyed 400 Hunter Region firms about job opportunities, and the results published today are not encouraging.
Those out there looking for work
firms responding
right now,
indicated
well
that
as
the workforce had decreased by
population
8% this year, with less than a 4% growth expected in the next 2 years. The survey also showed that businesses will become more efficient with high technology and will want a more efficient, better educated employee. To meet the demands of the employer, the Hunter Development Board has offered job seekers a personal action kit, a first for Australia, and a pilot scheme being closely watched by other regions. Part of the kit is this poster guide titled A Personal Challenge, which is aimed at helping job seekers understand all the options and contacts available in their quest for employment. 10,000 copies of this poster will be distributed throughout schools and employment agencies such as the CES. The board has also provided the Federal Department of Employment and Industrial Relations with a list of works projects, which could be the basis of a job generation package for the Hunter region. There are also provisions to encourage more small business activity, a recognised employer of many people. The manager of the board, Jeff Connell, says, however, that even with all the guidelines and suggested programs, self-motivation is essential.
I think the biggest problem with the current economic climate and the high levels of unemployment that we're experiencing is, as you say, the maintaining of motivation. We hope this program will enable people to see that the first option, that is of full-time employment, is not necessarily the only option, and therefore motivation should be maintained whilst the pattern of alternatives are searched out by the individual job seeker.
Last night's meeting was called to discuss the next stage of the Carrington study, which deals with future planning prospects, and rezoning, which has alarmed some industry leaders in Carrington. The latest plan put forward by the city planner gives consideration to some of the submissions made following a public exhibition of the Carrington study. After a long debate, agreement was given to an updated plan. As far as the general consensus goes, one industry leader, Mr Lavery, seemed to say it all.
And if we're asked to do something, we will cooperate to the hilt. But please ask us, please communicate with us. Talk to us as a group or as individuals, and we'll do everything we possibly can to help. But if you ostracise as you have done in this study, you'll get the reaction you've got. We're not against the residents, we're not against the plan, and we're not against progress. We are for it in every way.
The Newcastle City Council will now prepare a draft local environmental plan on Carrington, which must go back to the council, back on public exhibition, and finally back for government gazette. Three Merewether residents, Mr and Mrs April and their neighbour Mrs Monteith, were given the rare opportunity to talk face to face with Water Board personnel about the problem that has raised enormous public outcry: pollution from the Burwood Beach ocean outfall. Mrs April wanted Dr Patterson to see for himself the sort of rubbish she's been picking up along Merewether Beach, so she brought along a sample bag. While the same arguments were put forward in defence of the Water Board's position, the delegation did receive one undertaking. For the safety of swimmers, the Water Board will now publish daily pollution readings taken along the beaches. The three were taken on a tour of the beach where Water Board staff, after examining the contents of the bag, believe they didn't come from the treatment plant.
There's no possible way that these gross objects could possibly get through our screens.
But they're still on the beach and in large quantities. Where are they coming from?
Well, I've got no real explanation for that, and they could be coming from some illegal dumping source. I'm not really quite sure on that. It needs further investigation.
And will it be investigated?
We'll certainly look into it. It appears to be more a council matter to my mind, but certainly between the board and the council we should be able to have a look at this situation.
So you'll be taking this up as soon as possible?
Yes.
Yeah, might be right. I don't know.